Okay, this is a video I received from Brent. He wanted me to do a quick eval on one of his runs that he had recently. It's important to note that this does not appear to be a timed event. This is a civilian run, civilian event. So that's fine. I'm not really going to talk too much about really pushing speed on these non-timed events because I think it's a different mindset. It's really just getting through some of the technical stuff. And I'll discuss just a few takeaways. One of the things also, just quick mention, if you are going to send me videos, if possible, it's better for me to evaluate where somebody's maybe filming you going through the course. Then I can see lane position, I can see your hands better, I can see what your feet are doing. That helps me a little bit better to do an evaluation than this rear bike view. But this is still good. A helmet cam is really not going to help me too much, so this isn't so bad. Okay, so that being said, we're gonna get going on here. An important thing, I'm gonna turn the volume up. I want us to listen to the motor because that's really a telltale sign of what's going on with the bike and the way that you're maneuvering it, when you're applying power, how you're applying power, how much you're applying, whether you're coasting or not. So listen to your motor, telltale sign. So here we go. Okay. So again, remember, Brent sent me this with the expectation that I would go through some of this stuff and give him some feedback. So first of all, if you look a little bit forward from where he is, you can get a good view of the windscreen and the rearview mirror. He's pretty much straight up and down. Now understand that some schools teach straight up and down in the saddle. CHP does. It's kind of the best mix of high speed, low speed, and it's easy to teach. If you're asking me what I think of this, I would say counterbalance a heck of a lot more. You can drop the bike over, you're going to turn a tighter circle. You're also going to stay, that balance ball concept, you're going to stay on top of the bike better in case it starts pushing and sliding. So this is not a great technique in my opinion if you're going to start going faster, or if the surface appraisal is not great and the coefficient of friction is not good and you're going to slide a little bit, or if it's wet out, because as soon as you're losing the front tire, even a little bit, you're going to hit the ground. So that being said, take a look at the balance ball video. It kind of talks about that. And you can use the rear view mirrors as a reference for how far you're leaning. So right now, if I was telling him, hey, Brent, what I want you to do is go turn some circles right now, or figure eights, and take a look at where the rear view mirror positions are. I want you to be able to look in, for example, right now he's making a left. I want you to be able to look in the right side mirror. So as you can see, that's quite a bit further right than where he is, and it would force him to have to really counterbalance a lot more. So another thing on top of the counterbalancing, we talked about the sound of the motor. I want you to listen to the motor. One of the things that I kind of harp on is I don't like to add lean angle until the clutch throttle is really set up. Now, to a degree, he has the clutch throttle set up here because this is all kind of a slow speed run. So he's more or less in the gray area throughout the run. But I would still say, to get the RPMs up just a little bit more. We're not screaming it, we're not smoking the clutch, but just a little bit more. It's an insurance policy that you have that thing set, that clutch throttle really set up nice before you drop the bike over. And in my experience, that gives it a little bit more stability. And then if you need that clutch to sort of let that out, to really snap that bike up, you've got the RPMs up and the power in the right position, where you're not just going to have the bike maybe cough or stall or something of that nature. So like I mentioned, this all kind of has a smooth, we're in the gray area the whole time. If I was to evaluate this from a high-speed run standpoint, and hey, we're trying to beat the stopwatch, we would want to kind of drag race these little straight sections and push a little bit harder. And I'm going to evaluate some other videos where we're doing a timed run, and it'll be more relevant there. One thing I do want to point out with Brent is that he does a hell of a good job with his head and eyes, keeping ahead of wherever he is. Yes, turning your head is important, looking where you want to go is important, but he does it pretty preemptively, which I like. Good timing with his head and eyes. So if you pay attention to that, you'll notice. So that section right there, one thing I want to point is we're kind of taking this right here. We're pretty much just straight up and down. So understanding this is not a high-speed run, but when you're just kind of taking things straight up and down and trying to go full lock from a straight up position, two things just to keep in your brain. One, when the bike's straight up and down like that, it's not going to really turn a real tight radius. So although it's scary to drop the bike over in a slow speed tight section, it's kind of necessary for you to do that. What was my second point? Hell, I forgot what my second point was. Just that when you're going slow and you don't have momentum, it makes it a little bit harder. Because again, momentum loads that bike down. And when you're loading the suspension, you're changing steering angles. So momentum and lean angle will really help these bikes turn tight. And it can be scary when you're going into a tight section that's slow, and you'll start by going straight up and down, full lock, and you'll be like, man, I am not making this circle. And it doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive to say, okay, well, you need to throw the bike over more, commit to the circle or turn, and drop the bike over at more speed. It's like, well, I can't make it going slow. You want me to go fast and crash into everything? Well, no, but if you start going faster and you throw the bike over, you're going to notice it's going to load the suspension, and son of a gun, the bike will turn much, much, much tighter radius. So right there, you probably heard he went from gray area. Did I pass it? So listen here, listen to the clutch. So right here, we're coasting. Not good. We don't want to coast. So this is another example where he's really tight, and this is a slow section. We're coasting. So we're coming into a section not under power, not under momentum, straight up and down in the saddle. This is an area, this type of situation, if you're going to run into these where it's tight, you're going slow, and you're coasting, you're really asking for trouble, because the bike's not going to maneuver very well. You're now going from coasting to finding that gray area again, while you're going to need to be throwing the bike over and making some rapid transitions. So my recommendation in a section like this would be, again, once you come around here, stay in that gray area, maybe use your feet to help you transition the bike over a little bit quicker, but you're going to need to move that bike over, and that's going to require some power. So stay in the power. Right here. Stay on the power right here. So again, we're going slow, taking that straight up and down. Those are dangerous places to be. Odds are, if you're not really comfortable, you very well might drop the bike, especially because now you're trying to turn full lock. You're going slow. The slower you go, the more gravity affects you, and you're not in the gray area. So he's got a lot of math he's got to do to catch that bike from hitting the ground right here. So that's good. He compensated there. He recognized, okay, bike's falling over. I got to make this turn. His RPMs came up right there. So this is the first part of the course that I've really noticed where he went from coasting to finding that gray area, and he did that right when he needed to, but as you notice, he had to pick the RPMs up a little bit to make sure he didn't fall down. Good head and eyes. You'll notice if you look at his body position here, he's almost kind of leaned in. So while his head and eyes are picking a great spot on the course, it's kind of pulling him toward that focal point. And you can kind of see it in his body position where his shoulders are turning toward that mark. His body's kind of leaning in a little bit toward that mark. So again, even if we said straight up in the saddle, and I'm not going to harp on counterbalancing, you really want your shoulders straight ahead. You want to, yes, turn your head, but you want to keep your body sort of facing forward. Let the bike do all the moving. You stay nice and planted. Remember, you're kind of staying from this is your cockpit. This is the platform that you're operating from. So the less stuff your body is doing, the more stable everything else becomes, and you can operate a little smoother from that spot. So you hear a little RPM change there. I don't know if that was because he didn't make any adjustments as far as setting up the clutch throttle, and then now he's using a little bit more clutch, so the RPM's dropped because gravity's taking hold. Not sure on that, but what I would have told him here was, hey, again, power, power, power. When that bike's leaned over, you need power. So in these straight areas, no, you don't, right here, he doesn't need power here, but here he does. So you hear the RPMs drop. We don't want that. Again, he's leaning in. You can kind of tell by where the mirror is. So, and his shoulders are turned again. Keep your shoulders straight forward, and hopefully counterbalance. And if not, at least just don't drop in. Again, we're off the gas there. Do you hear that? So we're coasting right here. Now the bike's falling over under no power. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure we're in the gray zone, and we're ready. Just remember, this is the rule. That bike does not have lean angle unless there's power, unless you're in the gray area, period. So if you're dropping in from a coasting standpoint, that's a no-no. Don't do that. So you notice right there, he started falling over. He got that, uh-oh. It's a scary feeling, and we've all been there. Right here, pay attention. Right here. You see him kind of fall over, then he comes back. You can hear the motor a little bit, and I'll just play it straight through. But this is a scary place to be. And the reason it's happening, counterbalancing will help him, but most importantly, clutch throttle control, nice and smooth. Right here. It's a scary place to be. It happened again there, right there, that last drop. Here he comes. You'll see it again. See, he starts falling, bike starts falling in, and he catches it. And then we coast into the finish chute because we have momentum. Okay, so the long and short of Brent's run, first of all, he made it through. He didn't hit anything. He looked controlled. So all those things are A+. His head and eyes were excellent, better than most, for sure. He's not frying his clutch. He's not transitioning really kind of on-off. He has a pretty smooth clutch throttle control. But as far as recommendations, work on counterbalancing for sure. Work on setting up the power earlier before you add lean angle. And then also, I have a video on rapid transitions where you'll hear me apply a little bit of power to the rear wheel as I'm trying to go from one side to the other. That just makes this way easier. Again, you can muscle these bikes sometimes, but why? Why not let the clutch and the power throw that bike around for you? It's a subtle dance, but it's effortless when you do it right. And that's the most important thing, is making this bike do all the work. It's got a ton of power. You're not going to beat it when you do it wrong. All right? Thanks for the submission. I'll post that up. I appreciate it.